Hey y'all, it's Woody Overton, the host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Hi, it's Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Blum with your real estate tip of the week. The real estate market was very busy in 2021, but one thing that we didn't see much of was foreclosures. But foreclosure activity is already showing signs of increasing since the foreclosure moratorium was lifted after being in effect for a year and a half. The number of foreclosures will vary across the country, but nationwide, so far, we've already seen a 34% increase in foreclosures. The time frame will vary as well, depending on how each lender chooses to handle their delinquent loans. Some homeowners will be given the opportunity to move their past due payments to the end of their loan and just resume making normal monthly payments. Properties that have been vacated, whose property owners have not been communicating with the lender, will be handled much differently than those properties that are still occupied. The homeowners have started making normal monthly payments again, and they're communicating with their lenders. And the foreclosures are definitely not going to have a negative impact on the real estate market. In fact, it's going to help because we've had such low inventory. The influx of these foreclosed properties is actually going to help the situation. If you have questions about this or anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always just a phone call away. I'm Tricia Johnston with Blum, and I'll be back here next week with another real estate tip for you.
All right, we are back with Mr. Jeff Ard of the Livingston Parish Council. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am great. Now, you cover District 1, correct?
Correct.
And that's a big district.
Very big district.
Covers a small piece of Walker, the entire town of Livingston, right? And how far, where else do y'all cover?
I go from basically 449,
Yep.
Walker north, everything above Arnold Road.
Okay.
Arnold Road and Courtney.
Yes.
That's the line for me and Mr. Gurley House.
Yeah.
Then I got from 449. He basically keeps the town of Walker or the city of Walker.
Right.
And then I go all the way to the other side of Livingston to the Tickfall River.
Wow. That's a big territory to cover.
From the interstate all the way up to the parish line, St. Helene line.
Yeah, that's a lot of territory to cover,
Yes.
for sure. A lot of land. Probably is it the largest district in the county?
I have the largest land,
Yep.
but Mr. DeLatte, District 8 is probably the largest area. He just has a lot of water.
Yeah.
He's got the lake and
Marpaw and all that. Yeah. It's a lot, and I wanted to mention that it's funny, people assume, I guess, sometimes that it's a full-time job, and it is in a lot of ways. You just don't get full-time pay.
right. It's definitely a part-time gig, and I mean, I still work 40 hours, 50 hours a week for MMR as a superintendent for them.
Yes.
And then I do this, and then I also have my own business where I install home generators.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I stay fairly busy.
How is the generator business?
They're hard to get right now.
Yeah, I can
They're
imagine.
very hard to get, but I try not to overwhelm myself with them and do one or two at a time and
Yes.
fit them in when I can.
Yes. Well, a lot of people after the most recent hurricane, they found a need for generators. There's no doubt about it. But the problem is getting them, is not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, because it's not just us that needs them. That storm went up north, tore everything up north as well. So it's a lot of people looking for generators.
That's right. And look, anything right now is hard to get, no matter what it is.
Yes.
Generators or paint or whatever it is. It's a struggle to get it in there. So talking about a little bit more of back home, you're actually you were raised, I guess, in Satsuma.
Satsuma, just north of 190, right there on Cane Market. We was probably a quarter mile north of it.
Okay.
So we were actually on the line of Walker and Dahl District.
Yes.
we literally had people almost across the street were catching the bus to go to the Doll.
Yes.
And we were going to Walker. So, but I played sports with some of the, guys out in the Livingston area. So I've known all of them forever. My kids played sports in Livingston, and just, known them people like I was going to school there, and I actually went to Walker.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's one of the most beautiful things about this parish is, we're still not so big that everybody doesn't kind of run into each other.
Correct.
And, it still has that small town feel, even though we are growing in a lot of ways. And we kind of discovered that recently with the most current census that came out in 2020. One of the things from a parish council standpoint is the redistricting process that takes place when, kind of break down for me, if you could, is it that every councilman kind of needs to have an even playing field, I guess, or
correct.
responsibility?
You basically want to make it to where one councilman doesn't have more than the others, to where he's considered has all the population.
Yeah.
So you try to break it up to where every councilman has, I think he said it's within a -10.
Yeah. Yeah. Deviation in population.
Yeah. And, I think it's going to wind up giving us all somewhere around 16,000 in each district. But it's actually going to looks fairly easy because Mr. McMorris's district, which is below Walker, Port Vincent, that area, Coyell, he wound up having the largest district.
Wow.
I mean, we were all kind of like, wow, we were expecting Watson, to be the largest. And then Randy's district, which is Springfield, Marpaw, Killian, they kind of were the lowest.
Yeah.
So we could probably just take some of Gerald's district, give it to Randy, they're side by side, and we should be good.
Oh, that's a good thing.
So everybody else was within the -10, so it shouldn't be too hard. I know Randy mentioned in the meeting something about just the I guess the village of French Settlement, giving it up to him, and that would solve the problem.
Well, that's a great thing, because technically, if it would have been a worse issue, people could have ended up with a different councilman than what they're used to. Maybe they're happy with their councilman and they don't want to lose that guy. And so the best case scenario would be that you can kind of solve that with just maybe two guys trading a little bit of area.
Yeah. And we were really concerned with Denham, because after the flood, a lot of people kind of moved out of the area.
Yes.
And we wasn't sure how many of them moved back. Because, the year after the flood, Denham was almost cut in half on the population from when we ran.
Yes. I remember.
But they came back.
Yeah, they really did. It's amazing. And of course, that's kind of my area and where I hang out, I guess you could say, is Denham Springs, live in the area. And, it was crazy after the flood, but the comeback was a beautiful thing.
Right.
Just amazing. And everybody on the outside of Denham Springs that came in to help, and
and we saw it again with the storm. We just had the way the people just went to work.
It's what we do in Livingston Parish, ain't it?
Yes, we do.
It's a beautiful thing. And speaking of that, the storm has been a kind of a hot topic, and debris and all that sort of thing, and cleanup. And so from a council standpoint, what part of that are you responsible for, would you say?
Really, administration handles it.
Yeah.
So kind of the only thing we do is, somebody lives on the end of a road that seems to get overlooked, they might call us. We'll call administration, bring it to their attention. We need to get somebody down this road to go pick this up for these people. And
yes,
but as far as that, the parish president and administration, they pretty much handle all of that.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that, listeners, one thing to tell you is from a council standpoint, it's not much different than, your national government. You have a Senate and you have
Correct.
All of that, Congress. And so you're the legislative side. So
Correct.
you introduce the laws and pass the ordinances, we'll call them. And they kind of handle it from there.
Correct.
And so that's something important for people to keep in mind is it's different now than it used to be. And there used to be a police jury, correct?
Yes. And that's, I guess, an issue that we still have with some of the older people in the parish that were used to the police jury system, because they might have called their police juryman back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And, hey, I need you to take care of this for me. Okay. And they did it right away.
Yeah.
But the police juryman actually in his district, he got a pile of money. He had his own work crew, and he was basically the supervisor over that crew.
Yes.
And he directed them, and they did everything he wanted done, and he was over it all.
Yes.
We're over none of that.
Right.
We write the laws. If we see a law that needs to be tweaked, we tweak it, we change it. We really don't have any intel on the actual work and the employees.
Right.
That's the administration's job under a council system.
Yes, and so that's the primary difference in those days and times. You kind of handled everything. Yeah. Now they split that essentially.
Yes. And look, it was a eye opening for me, because I have an uncle, James Sibley, that used to be a police juryman.
Yep.
And I kind of always watched the position, and I might be interested in that one day. And I got married, moved out to Walker, but I always wanted to go back to where I grew up to do it. And we finally moved back out in that area, and I decided to run. And
it's been good things.
It's been good. I mean, I get more upset when somebody calls me and I can't help them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of times that I just have to say, I just can't do nothing. That's not my job, And some people just don't want to hear that.
Yeah. They and that's one thing we want to definitely impress on everybody is you're not necessarily passing a buck. Your hands do get tied.
Yes.
And so Leighton Rick's office, that's more the administrative side of things that you would deal with on situations like that. Now, if you got a good idea or a law that you think you want to bring to the council and say, hey, this might make for a good ordinance, they'd love to hear it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I've had people come up to me and ask me something, and I'll say, I'm gonna have to look into it. And they're like, you don't know it? Like, you know how many ordinances that we have?
There's a ton.
There's a lot.
I've seen them.
So if it hasn't come across our desk and we've dealt with it, we would probably have to look it up and see what the ordinance says and see if there's an issue with it. And, and we've had a lot of them that's come across our desk that we're like, they made sense back in the 90s when they wrote it.
Sure.
But it doesn't make sense now because our parish has changed so much that, and we probably have a bunch of them that's still on the books that we just haven't come across yet that really doesn't help us out as a parish now. But until something comes across our desk that's in part of that ordinance, we don't know.
Yeah, and he's 100% right. I mean, you can go online and print out the entire thing, and you better have a ream of paper in there to print it out. Because I started to one day, and I'm like, I ain't got enough ink for this. Yeah. So yes, it's a lot.
Hey ladies, it's Pate with Idell Lane Spa and Boutique, located in Walker. We offer all things skincare, hair care, makeup, spray tan, lashes, and more. And we have a full selection of clothes. And we also do private events from birthday parties, bridal showers, and more. So stop by today and get your queen on, making every woman a queen. See you soon.
2015, the entire council was pretty much replaced. This was your first term.
It was my first term. I was probably the first one to come out of the group and say that they were running. And at the time, Chance Parent was the councilman, and he had said that he wasn't going to run, and then he come back, changed his mind, and ran. So I ran against him. He was still the incumbent.
Yeah. You got a pretty high percentage of that
I got 69% on that one. And just went around and, a lot of people know, me and Tricia Gardner have known each other since we were 5 years old. Went through school from kindergarten all the way through, and he was a councilman in city of Walker, and I kind of, man, you really ought to do this with me. Let's do this together, and let's go in. And took a little convincing, kind of finally got him going, and then started hearing of other guys wanting to get in and do it, and I mean, it was when we all won, we all kind of get in there and like, okay.
Yeah, because you're all new.
We're all new.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And, luckily, John Wascom and Tracy both had a little experience, at least being on the city council.
Right.
And we kind of leaned on them. But I'm going to tell you, our savior was Miss Sandy Teal, our clerk.
Yes.
She kept us in line.
She's awesome.
She is awesome, and she really kept us going.
Yeah.
Because we would try to do things, and she'd be like, no, you can't do it that way. You have to do it this way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape involved that you got to kind of work through and things like that. Miss Sandy Teal, I did Leadership Livingston with her, and just an amazing lady indeed.
Yeah, she is.
So, and has to deal with a bunch of you guys all the time in that council.
Yeah,
it's got to be tough.
And I mean, look,
Scooter running around.
Yeah, we have clashes, I at one time I had a little joke going around, and I don't even remember it, about each councilman's part and what they do, and I used to mess with Scooter all the time and say, we just use you when we want information leaked out, Scooter. That's all we use you for.
I love it. I love that. Yeah. So, and interestingly enough, the council, they have a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of things y'all been doing towards the positive lately, I guess you could say. One of those I want to bring up that is kind of a big topic is water safety regulations. So we've had, unfortunately, some deaths at tiki tubing, lately, and of course those make the news and everything. And from the council standpoint, y'all said, man, we need to look at this, and maybe we need to institute some regulations for businesses, to operate. It wasn't being hard. It was really common sense stuff that you're not trying to be hard on any sort of business, but there was some safety regulations lacking there. So let's discuss those a little bit.
Well, the ordinance committee gave it to us at the last meeting, and I thought they did an excellent job on it. You could tell they really put their time into it. They put where they're going to have GPS markers down the river, so when something happens, they can call in and say, hey, we're at this marker.
Yeah, that's huge.
And we don't have people trying to go up and down the river or send a drone up or whatever we got to do to try to find them. We have a marker that at least puts us right on top of them.
Yes.
So we're also going to have depth gauges along the river to be able to see. They're going to try to mark some of the more dangerous areas of the river that typically get deep, and when the river gets high, it gets a little stronger current there. Yeah. The life vest, we had a little discussion on that.
Yes,
but it basically said the business had to provide them. It doesn't say you have to wear them.
Right.
That's still your personal preference.
Liberty. Yeah, we're not going to step on liberty.
Stepping on that liberty,
right.
But we want the business owner to have to put it in your hands.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom, it wanted to add available, and I was one that said, wait a minute. I feel like if we put available, they're going to put a tub of life vests right there. And hey, they're available.
Yeah.
And if you want it, get one.
Yeah.
And I would prefer put a tub where you drop them off at, and if they don't want to wear it, they can put it in the tub over there. But they did that on their own. They put it in that tub, and they chose not to wear it.
Yeah, that's right. They made that decision for themselves.
They made that decision. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And that was more semantics than anything else, as far as wording. But it was worded very well, and there's one thing we also want to say is it does not include private boat launches. So anybody that has a private boat launch, it's all good. You don't have to.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
was
primarily
tricky,
for businesses.
Because it was like, do we put floating devices that don't have a motor, inflatables? How do we word this? And it was a lot of discussion on how to get it right.
Yes.
You know, and at the same time, we didn't want to be like we're picking on this one business.
Right.
You know, we wanted it to pertain to river safety.
That's right.
Not just this business. So,
Yeah.
That just so happened this business brought the attention to us that, hey, we have an issue that we probably need to look into.
Yeah, and that's the the great things about a council is it's a bunch of minds getting together
Yes.
and kind of working out the best solution and the best process for those sort of things. So, look for that. Look for that maybe next time you go to Tiki Tubing and they're going to start that process with. And I think the GPS thing is just amazing because that emergency personnel, they know right. It could be the difference between life or death in some cases.
Yes. And I mean, look, the other thing is used to you just went in, you signed a waiver.
Yeah.
And we all know most people don't read that.
Right.
You just let me sign it and go on.
Correct.
And I had kind of mentioned to me and Tracy was talking one day, and I said, well, Tracy, we go to Tennessee a lot, and you always have to sit down and watch a video. If you go riding four-wheelers through the mountains or anything you do, there's a video. I don't know if it's an ordinance up there and they make them do it, but you have to go in this little room and watch a video. Well, then he took it from there and went to running, and and he said, hey, that's a great idea. We need to do that. And he went with it from there. And so I think they're going to put a safety video together. So now at least you have to watch the video, then come out and sign the paper.
Yes.
So you can say you didn't, I didn't read that, I just signed it. Yeah, but you sit through that video.
That's right.
And you did see everything that this piece of paper says.
That's right. That's right. And fabulous idea. And I'm with you. I've seen that in other deals as well. When I went white water rafting, I had to watch a video.
Yes.
5-minute thing or whatever, but it gives you those safety tips you need. Now, I want to talk a little bit about zoning. Zoning's kind of a hot topic and has been for quite a while. Zoning, okay, so the best way I can say this is it's not something that's uncommon. It's parishes that surround us. They have zoning.
They all have zoning.
Yeah, so Ascension Parish has it. Baton Rouge has it. Tell me about what zoning, the positive of zoning. What will that give you that you don't have now?
The positive from the council side is right now, if it meets the ordinance, we can't
stop it.
We can't stop it. We can't do nothing but make you abide by these ordinances, and that's it.
Yeah.
Zoning does give us the opportunity to say, and I'm gonna use this for an instance because Mr. Girlinghouse had one on Duff Road, a big subdivision that we just felt like that road just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
It wasn't big enough for this size subdivision, but it met the ordinance.
Yeah.
We could not stop it. Where with zoning, we can say, no, you're not putting that on that road.
Yeah.
If you find another way in, or it's not happening.
4-lane it instead of 2-lane it, whatever.
Right. So it does give the council a little more authority and power to be able to say, no, we're going to protect the citizens that live there now.
Right.
Versus the ones that are coming with this subdivision.
Which can be an issue because those citizens do come to y'all and they say, hey, I think it was Mr. McMorris had a subdivision coming up with something like 1,200 houses or something. And they meet the ordinance. There's nothing he can do to stop that from happening. And that's zoning just gives you, in my opinion, the authority to use common sense to say, hey, we're not trying to maybe stop you from putting this neighborhood in, but if you're going to do it, here's what we need. We need 4 lanes instead of 2. We need, whatever it may be. Or if it's a rock plant or something like that everybody's throwing a fit over, you can stop that.
And I'm going to tell you, it's extremely important right now because I was in a meeting last night with Gravity 8 Drainage, and one of the guys there does a lot of work with Ascension Parish and in Livingston Parish, and he told us, get ready.
Yeah.
Because with all the stuff that's going on in Ascension right now with their council and their drainage and their fighting, they've put a halt to any development over there. Well, these developers are going to find somewheres to develop.
They have to, yeah.
Well, let's just go across the river in Livingston and let's start developing.
Right.
So we need this zoning to be able to control that.
Yes.
And protect our people that live here. And I can't say that enough. And, I was probably about in my second year of my first term when I always say Tracy, but me and Tracy talk all the time. And we were talking about something and brought that up about, what about the people that live here now?
Yes.
And
that puts you in office. It voted for you.
It clicked, and it's like, we've got to start looking at the people that live here. We've got to worry about them and quit worrying about these subdivisions that are coming. And, because I've had people come in for subdivisions and be complaining because the wooded area behind their subdivision, they're going to extend that and make it more of a subdivision, make it bigger.
Yeah.
Filing. I like sitting on my back porch and watching the squirrels run up and down the trees. And, and I'm like, well, guess what? The subdivision that you living in used to be the woods behind my house.
Yeah. Good point.
I used to live on Buddy Ellis. And, when they built that huge woodland crossing over there, I sold and left.
Yeah.
Because my backyard was 4,000 or 5,000 acres of woods.
Yes. Yes.
And I moved up, back north of Walker, kind of north of Satsuma Walker area. And I got my woods behind the house again. And, and
yeah, it's a definitely a needed thing. So I guess the obvious question is what does it require? Is it just a vote of the council, or is it something you have to take to the voters?
That's a little tricky there. I mean, technically, the council can just enforce it and say, hey, we have zoning.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a topic that gets a little thrown back and forth between the council of, do we want to just do it? Do we want to take it to the vote of the people? But it gets to the point where, the people voted us to be their voice.
Yes. Correct.
So if we're going to them every time we have a major decision, they're not going to have faith in us.
Right.
And it should be, hey, we put our faith in you to be our voice.
Yeah.
If you think this is right, you should vote for it.
100%.
And put it in. And I really feel there's a huge need for zoning in our parish, control the chaos. And, I can remember when Walker wasn't zoned.
Yeah.
And when they started talking about zoning, it was like, this is going to be the death of Walker. It's going to destroy everything. And you know what? The sun come up the next day, everybody's still living the way they always lived. It's just you have a little bit better way to control your development in your area.
100%.
And we don't have enough control over that right now.
100%. And it's important to mention that nobody is necessarily anti-growth. You're just for smart growth.
Right.
And there's a difference between those two things that because, I'm not picking on developers here or anybody else, but once you follow that initial ordinance, you're not going to necessarily go above and beyond. You're going to do what you are required to do, and that's it, because that's money.
Yeah. And look, we get lucky sometimes with some of these developers.
Absolutely.
They will work with us.
Yes.
I had one that's coming up north of Walker, on Walker North around Friendship Road. They did the subdivision. It was literally right on the edge of Walker North, and they had both the entrances coming on Friendship Road, this little small parish road.
Sure.
And I just said, look, we just repaved that road 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Y'all going to have all your trucks coming in there, building it. Why are y'all's main entrance not off that state highway?
Yeah.
And I mean, I know why. It's other permits. It's, requirements of the state now. But look, Macklin and Taylor was engineers. They went back to the developer, come back to me within a week and said, hey, we agree. We're going to change it. We're going to have an entrance off of that, and we're going to make sure all our construction vehicles come in off of that entrance, and we're not going to tear that parish road up.
Fantastic.
So sometimes you do get that, but sometimes you get them to say, Nope.
Yeah.
I meet the ordinance.
That's it.
That's
it. Yeah. So that's what zoning, to wrap up that subject, that's what zoning will give you. I personally am 100% for zoning. I think it's something that's been needed for a long time. Especially when you see the kind of growth that we're seeing here in Livingston Parish.
Yeah.
You really need another safety mechanism there to control some of that. So let's talk a little bit about it seems like it's always a subject in Livingston Parish, and that is drainage. It didn't take a flooded 2016 to really get people focused on it, but it sure helped.
Yes.
So the amazing thing, and what some people may be shocked to find out, is there are a couple districts that are either very low funded or totally unfunded.
Yes.
In the parish. Believe it or not, there are districts that have no funding whatsoever for drainage. So I guess the question I would have is, why are they unfunded?
Well, because the people won't vote it in.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. They've tried to pass the same millage that the other districts pass.
Yeah.
Set it up the same way, and I'm pretty sure it's went at least 2 times to the people.
Yeah.
And it's been denied. Now, I think the first time was probably late 90s, and then we tried again right after the flood. So it ain't like it was a throw it right back on the ballot type thing and try to get it in. I felt like we didn't do enough homework when we tried to do it after the flood. It was, we see a need now. We had this flood. Let's hurry up and do it. And
yeah.
I just thought we pushed it too fast, and the people let us know we pushed it too fast.
Yes.
But now that was 2 districts that were unfunded. I think it was 6 and 7. Which is probably 2/3 of the parish.
That's a lot of area.
Yeah. It's basically everything east of Walker.
Yes.
Which is also everything south of Denham and Walker.
Yes.
So your districts that are actually funded are Watson, Walker, and Denham.
Yes.
So basically once it comes through Denham and Walker, it's hitting an area that's not funded, and that's why it's still backing up on them.
Right. And you just nailed it for me.
Right.
The problem when you have unfunded districts for me is, okay, I live in the Denham Springs area. So I have, we have a great gravity drainage district here, and we're well funded. But when there's problems, up there, or below me rather, it's still coming back on me. So it would behoove me to have every district funded. And one of the questions I would ask is, has parish-wide drainage, having just basically one district control over the whole parish, is something that some parishes in Louisiana have done. Is that something y'all have possibly looked at?
We've had that discussion numerous times. I think the issue is because of the 3 districts that are funded, they basically don't even want to come to the table until the rest of the parish starts paying their part.
Okay.
And I can understand that.
Yeah.
We're paying, we got ours right. Y'all need to start paying. Once y'all do, we'll come to the table. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I had brought up an idea that I didn't think we needed to just make it one drainage district for the whole parish, but basically we get the east side funded. And then we come up with what's called a super board, where you create a board. This is a parish-wide, and you get a member from each district off of each board on this board, and at least they're working together.
Yes.
So if we start working on a canal that runs through 3 different districts, they all know about it. Hey, let's all get on this. Each one of us do what's our part, and it's clean from top to bottom.
Right.
So you don't necessarily have to combine it and just make it one district. Yeah. We just need it all funded.
Yes.
And then we can start working together and truly make this work out right.
Yes. And, look, I'm no different than anybody else. When I go vote for something, I see the word tax on it or anything, it's almost automatic that you want to say no, but there are some, not all taxes are bad. Some of them are good things, and without them, we wouldn't have, a sheriff's department that runs as it does, libraries, things like that.
It's a lot. I mean, look, we just had the people repass the road tax.
Yeah.
And I've had some people call me and say, I'm not going to vote for that. You know how bad our roads are? And I'm like, how bad do you think they'll be if we don't have this tax?
That's right.
If we don't have this money to do what we are doing, the best thing we can do is just take all the asphalt back up and go back to gravel roads.
Right.
Because they don't cost nothing. I mean, you just send a grader down there and add a little gravel every now and then.
That's it.
So we got some issues with the road tax money that a lot of people don't understand, that, the bond that was taken out at the beginning basically ate up all the money. Yeah. And we were crippling along trying to get through with what little bit of money we had for a long time, because everything was spent on the front end.
Yes.
And, now that we had the new tax, the bond is paid. Now, Councilman DeLatch brought up about doing a bond again, and there's a bunch of us, we're just like, no. We know what it's like doing a bond. Let's see what happened with a pay-as-you-go.
Yeah.
And then after you've done that a couple of years, we can compare them and say, okay, which one works out better?
Sure. It's nice to have a little extra money coming in that used to be going out, and you can dedicate that maybe somewhere else, and all of those sorts of things. But you're exactly right in that the road that you just brought up is a good example. Think of how bad it would be without that tax.
Yes. And to get back on the drainage, we had a meeting last night for Gravity 8, which we combined 6 and 7 and created 8.
Yes.
So basically everything in the parish that is not funded is now Gravity District 8.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is create a way to start collecting money. Yes. And what we have found is, we're lacking on impact fees and things like that.
Yes.
And we've addressed that, and that's starting to come around. Well, what's always hurt that side of the parish is the way the ordinance reads. It says that that the funded districts can collect these fees. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't allow. So if you build over in this area, you don't have to pay the fee that you would have to pay over here.
Yeah.
In the funded districts. And I'm like, well, that's not right.
No.
So why don't we just change the ordinance to say, not funded districts, but drainage districts?
Yes.
If it's 100%. An established drainage district, you have to pay these impact fees.
Yes.
Then that allows us to at least start collecting some money.
Yes.
We'll start collecting some money and get started, and that way when we do go to the people to ask for whatever we come up with, a millage, a tax, a fee, it's, and I'm going to have to say this is Tracy saying, and he's going to get on to me, but it's not just ink on the paper.
Yeah.
We have actually started doing something.
Yeah.
We're collecting fees. We're working on getting a crew established. We got to buy equipment and everything like that. So one of the discussions we had is right now it might just be feasible to use a contractor.
Yeah.
We use a contractor until we can get to the point where we're collecting the money to do all this stuff.
It's huge. And, for those that aren't familiar with what an impact fee is, studies have shown, look, you stick a shovel in the ground and you take a shovel of dirt out, you're affecting drainage somewhat. Granted, maybe not that much, but you're affecting it somewhat, even with a little shovel of dirt. Well, the problem is you have development going on, and they are changing the entire topography of the land when they do this. And, people always say, well, I had a house built next to mine, and they built higher than me, and it threw all the water on me. It's kind of that on a very large scale. So these impact fees that are proposed, what these will do is give more money to the parish to where they can basically control it and do things like buy equipment and all that sort of stuff. The impact fees, I think, would go to the districts, the gravity drainage districts, and all of that. So without funding for this stuff, it just kind of stops. You can't do anything without money.
Correct. I mean, was the number one topic when they said they wanted to have the meeting. I said the first thing on the agenda should be funding.
Yes.
Because if we don't get funding, we can't do nothing. And we actually made an agreement last night with Quality Engineers to be our engineering over that group, which they do District 1 gravity drainage, which is a good thing because now you have someone that knows where we're trying to get.
100%.
They know what direction we're going. He brought a lot to the table and basically telling us about grants. So that once we start getting some money and we have some in the pot, he can help us go chase grants.
Yes.
So we could double that money, triple that money by getting grants and doing things like that. And I think Quality is going to be a huge help in getting all this going because of just their knowledge and already doing Gravity 1.
And local folks.
Yeah,
right there out of French Settlement area.
Yes.
So Quality Engineering, and they're very well known for their, especially what they deal with regard to drainage and things like that, grants and finding grants and all that sort of thing. So good deal. That's great news. Now, in addition to the unfunded districts with regard to drainage, people might be surprised that the District 12 Fire Department is totally unfunded.
Totally unfunded.
Let me say that again. You got a fire department that has no funds. Not a good thing. But you got some great volunteers over there.
Yeah, we got, now Fire District 12 is basically Satsuma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the town of Livingston. Now, the town of Livingston was kind of cut out of Fire District 12. So Fire District 12 actually wraps around the town of Livingston.
Wow.
But the majority of it is to the west, which would be Satsuma area.
Yeah.
Back in, it's been 30 years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago, they made a deal, Fire District 12 did, with the town of Livingston. Fire District 12 gets a $30,000 a year state credit, a check that's wrote to the district.
Right.
So they just made a deal with the town of Livingston. We'll give you that check every year, and y'all be our fire department. Now, you go back 30 years ago, wasn't much around there.
Right.
Cost of living wasn't that much then.
Right.
$30,000 went a long ways.
Yeah.
$30,000 nowadays, they can't even put the fuel in the truck.
Yeah.
And when I first got elected, Mayor Jones was still in there. Me and him talked about it. We had some good ideas. We were going to start pushing it, and that's when he got sick.
Mm.
He stepped down. Then he passed away, and we had another mayor. And we talked a couple of times, the mayor after him, and he was just new. And I just really couldn't get to the table with him on it. And we had a couple of discussions, and then 4 years just isn't very long.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he was running for police chief, and he's not running for mayor again.
Yeah.
So now JT Johnston Taylor's the mayor, and he's new, and I've done had 2 good discussions with him, and he's kind of understanding it. And I really feel like me and JT's going to get it worked out.
Good.
We're going to figure out a way to make it happen. But to me, it's one of them taxes that it's easy to go to the people for.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a funded district, your insurance rates are going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point.
If the town of Livingston ever says, we don't want your $30,000, we can't cover your area any longer. Right now, over 50% of their calls is outside of the town limits, which is Fire District 12.
Mm.
and it's really right at that point where it's about to get to the point where the town can't afford it.
Yeah.
They need a new truck, they need new equipment, and they just can't afford to keep doing this. So if they were to ever just say, we're done, we're not taking care of 12.
Yeah.
What the people's insurance rates would be in that area.
Oh, it'd be crazy.
It would be crazy. It really would be crazy. And I wouldn't want to do nothing but the same thing the other districts are doing.
Yeah.
Just whatever they're paying, you pay, and we can then create a volunteer station, to where we have a truck and a station with volunteers.
Yeah. And
still have a deal with the town of Livingston. And, you get better coverage. Your ratings would probably be better. Your insurance rates would drop. So to me, you get a new tax, but your insurance rates would drop. Mm-hmm. So it would almost drop enough that it actually pays for your tax.
100%. So I watch, and attend council meetings, and I say watch lately because we've been doing them on Zoom and all those sorts of things, which I kind of like because it's convenient for one thing, and it enables, to me, there's a positive to it because while it may be hard to get people out to a meeting, middle of the week, it's easier for them to just punch up their computer and everybody's on Zoom. If they have something to say, they can take advantage of it, those sort of things. So it's actually been something that after I got used to it, I've rather enjoy it. It's very convenient. But you're kind of the I would say the calm voice on the council and obviously have your ducks in a row, and your information is something that I admire about you. You know what you're talking about when you talk, and so it's important to mention some of your accomplishments that I wanted to mention. You're actually the current chair of the Finance Committee.
I've been that since this term.
Yeah,
and I've been on the Finance Committee since I was elected.
Yes.
So back in 2015, I got on the Finance Committee and I stayed on it. And then when we started our new term, I became the chairman.
And was vice chair of the was it the Finance Committee you were vice chair of or the
the
council? The
council. Okay. I was vice chair the second year we were in, and then I was chairman the third year.
Which would be 2018 was your chairman year.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of experience there in the leadership aspect of the council. And look, chairing a finance committee is not the easiest thing in the world. Yes. I would imagine. It's a lot of numbers and it's a lot of. I tell people, they ask me about the council meetings a lot because they know I watch them and attend them, and I tell them, 90% of it is something that is necessary, but not the most exciting thing. You're looking at plats. I mean,
and I've actually done other podcast with McHugh, which he's the news is our journal.
Yes,
and we do when we have hot topics, we typically go to him to get it out.
Yes,
absolutely. But they don't come often.
Yeah,
a lot of it is just kind of repetition. Somebody subdividing land. My parents are sick, and I want to put a trailer in the back, and I need a waiver to do that, and then on the topic of waivers, I'm not big on waivers.
Yeah.
But if you give me a reason, like that, I'll vote for it.
Yes.
But if you tell me, man, if you give me a waiver to do this, I get one more lot out of my 500 lots. No.
Yeah.
No. I'm not voting for that.
Right. Absolutely.
But same thing. It took me about 2 years to really understand that and say, wait a minute. I'm not giving you a waiver just to make a little bit more money.
Right.
I'm not doing that. And, I've said this before that, I understand where people get at with term limits. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's based more on what's happening in Washington.
Yeah. National politics.
And national politics gets too associated with local politics. And we're not like that. We're guys and gals that live in this parish. We just want to make our home better.
Yes.
You know, we want to make it safe for our kids. We want our kids to want to stay here.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to have to travel to, you know, Tennessee because that's where my grandkids live.
100%.
I want them to stay right here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I do this. You know, I want to make sure that my kids want to stay here. I want your kids to stay here.
Yes, me
you
too.
know,
My wife for sure.
I want to be on the Walker side and you on the Denham side, and we're waving at each other. You know, I mean,
100%. And that's a great way of putting that. And that's, you know, it's important that people realize that, because they get so tied into the national politics. And, you know, one thing, I've obviously heard all the arguments for and against term limits, but one thing I'll tell you about term limits that I would say is a negative is you get good people
yes.
In office, whoever it may be locally, and you lose them at some point.
Yes.
And you can't stop it. Yeah. It's term limits.
And that's what I was getting at is, you know, it really takes you a term to really understand. Because like we said, it's a part-time job.
Right.
We're not sitting in there 10 hours a day learning how to do this. It's when things happen, we learn.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, other than when we decided to run, we were given the home rule charters.
Yeah.
You know, that's a book you can read and learn.
Yeah.
You know, it's not very big. But when you open that book with the ordinances, that's a different monster there.
Yeah.
And I really feel like people, we want a new councilman every term.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
It's really not good, because you're going to have a guy learning.
As soon as he gets to know what he's doing,
when he gets
he's
to know
gone.
what he's doing, you're getting rid of him. And then you got another guy that's got to learn how to do it. And then you get rid of that one. And I see the benefits of keeping guys. And like I said, you don't need term limits to get rid of somebody.
Right.
All you got to do is go vote against them, and you can get rid of them.
Yeah.
You know, we showed that in 2015 when we completely got a whole new council.
That's right.
The parish was tired of what was going on and the fighting and fussing, and they said, "Hey, we're not doing this," and they cleaned house. Yeah,
I mean, you always have that option of just voting someone out, and so technically, people, you know, every so many years they're up for election. It's you know, it's a new. I was in sales my whole life, and one thing with sales is every month it was a new month. You know, you could have been the best that month before, but you're zero. And so that's kind of, you know, it rolls around. And if you're not happy with that person, you could always vote them out. Whereas if there's term limits, even if you're happy with them,
they're gone.
They got to go.
They're gone.
They got to go.
After 3
and I can
terms,
think of several people right now that are term limited, and I'm like, you know,
it's going to hit our representatives hard this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really have 3 of our 4 that are termed out.
Yeah.
You know, so that means we lose all of them connections that they have.
Yes.
And we're going to have
knowledge.
You're going to have 3 new people come into them places that don't have a clue what's going on. They have to learn the job. And it's a part-time job too.
Yeah.
Just like the council. So you're not doing it full time.
That's right.
You know, you're trying to learn how to, you know, at that state, you're dealing with people all over the state. You've never met these people in your life.
Yes.
You know, so who can I trust? Who can I, you know, what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to get this done? Where you just lost the guy that was here over term limits.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I didn't really understand that when I first got into politics.
Yeah.
And then when we started putting it on the ballot, you know, because the people wanted to vote for it, you know, when people want something, I have no problem with it. Don't matter what I think.
Yeah.
I'm not elected to do what's best for me. I'm elected to do what's best for my people that put me in that spot.
100%.
So I voted for things before that I really didn't like.
Yeah.
But I knew that's what was best for my district in the parish. So that's how I voted.
And that's the way you want your councilman or whoever to vote, is the majority of the people they represent. And I've always told people my opinion would only matter if it was 50-50 and I had the tie-breaking vote.
Yeah.
Then my opinion matters.
And look, my district is kind of unique because, I'm, like you said, the convoy, the middle guy.
Yeah.
I am the middle guy.
Yeah.
My parish, my district probably touches more of the other districts than anybody else.
Yeah.
I think there's only one district that I don't touch, which is John Wascom's.
Yeah.
Is the only one that mine does not touch.
Yeah.
And then my district also, I have District 2 and District 5 of drainage districts that are funded. Yeah. And then the whole rest of mine's not. So I have some of the city of Walker, some of the town of Livingston. I have country folks. I have a lot of wooded area. Whatever there is in the issue anywhere in the parish, that's in my district.
Yeah.
I deal with all of it.
Yeah.
I don't have just the issues of the city people. I have that too. Yeah. And I have the country. And I have a town. And Satsuma was on the verge of being, they were trying to, be a municipality just not too long ago.
Yeah.
So that was pretty close to being a village or a town right there.
Yeah.
So I've dealt with it all. And some issues I wish I'd never had to deal with.
Yeah.
I've had to sit there and look at family and friends in the face and just say, no.
Yeah. And that's hard to do.
I would love to help you, but, one of the things I've always said is if I follow the rules and follow the book, I can't be wrong.
That's right. 100%.
If you don't like it, I can change them rules.
Yeah.
But right now, my job is to follow these rules and do what they say.
That's it. And nobody can hold you, or hope you would hope people wouldn't hold you accountable for following the rules. I mean, you've got to, you've got to lean back on that and put personal relationships aside sometimes, and that sucks. And
yes,
you never want to do that because you've been here your whole life.
Yes,
and you know a lot of people.
And I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here.
Love it, and you're doing a great job. My hope with podcasts like this that I do, especially with councilmen, is I familiarize people with what they do because it's important. It's a huge part of this parish. And one thing I will say about every member of that council is all of you, I believe, love Livingston Parish, and believe me, if you saw what they get paid, it's not much, and it certainly ain't worth the work involved. So they do it out of service, they do it out of their love of the parish, and they do it to make it better for my kids, their kids, grandkids, all those sorts of things. So, so great job. You've been doing it. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I would like to touch a little bit back on the storm.
Yes.
I know we're on our second round of pickup.
Yep.
Cleaning up. And I know a lot of people don't know that the parish is not responsible for all pickup.
Right.
We're responsible for parish roads.
Yes.
State and DOTD are responsible for those that live on a state highway.
Yes.
So I got a call the other day, state highway, they just keep passing me up. They won't pick my stuff up. What's going on? And, and I called and said, hey, can you call somebody? And they did. They called, they went over there and picked them up. But, that's DOTD, and we just don't have no control over that.
Right.
But they do work together.
Sure.
I mean, they communicate with each other. They try to work together. So they're on the second round of pickup. I think they've started doing the pickup on what's considered house debris.
Yeah.
Home debris, fences, shingles, tree fell on your house, took half of it down, all that type of stuff. But it has to be separated. It cannot all be in the same pile.
Yeah.
I actually think in the last Zoom meeting, you had asked a question about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that they actually have one truck that picks the heavy stuff up and another truck that picks up the limbs.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I figured they just reached and grabbed the whole pile and go with it.
Yeah.
But that was explained to us in that meeting.
Yes. And good information.
Yeah. But I was able to, 10 days after the storm, the sheriff had called. wanting to get a couple of councilmen the opportunity to go fly and look at our waterways and our canals.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, I would love to. So it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, like all the work that we did after the flood of cleaning our rivers and canals, it's like we did nothing. It's worse.
Makes you sick.
It's worse.
Yeah.
The tick fall from the St. Helena line all the way to the interstate is devastating.
Wow.
It's you know, there's a tree every 50 yards.
Yeah.
Across that river. You know, and then a lot of people, when they say tick fall, they think down there where the tick fall 200 is happening, this big wide river. The part that comes through the parish up here in the north, it's not like that. It's a small river that comes through that you can walk across. You know, it's kind of like the A-Meet up there, you know, where they're tubing and stuff at. So it's a small area. So a tree falling across it is big time.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's huge.
But I would say this. The pilot went up the day after the storm.
Yeah.
So he was able to see when it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
So as we're going up, he's telling me, you know, how bad it's going to be, what I'm going to see. We start flying around, and he just says, I am totally impressed with our people.
Yeah.
You know, how much cleanup they've done on their own. You know, he said, man, all this stuff before was trees everywhere, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
So I just, that's a shout out to our people.
Yes.
You know, you know, we see that y'all step up when it's time to step up.
That's right. And, you know, the most resilient community in Livingston Parish, I think anywhere in the world. I mean, I would say that wholeheartedly. The stuff that we have been through, Jeff, is would have killed communities in 2016. Would have killed communities after these hurricanes. And what do? We're just some good old boys getting out there and picking stuff up and making it happen, and everybody's banding together, and it doesn't matter your economic status in life or anything else.
We just get after it. You know, and
we don't need no help.
My very first year of politics, I had 3 months into my term, we had a tornado tore up the town of Livingston.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it basically went right down the railroad tracks and just tore everything up.
Wow.
And then like a month after that, we had a flood that happened in the Holden area along the Tickfall River.
Yeah.
That flooded a lot of people out. You know, and then later on that year, we had the 2016 flood.
Yeah.
You know, all this happened in my first term of politics. First year ever in politics, you know, and it's like, I hope it's not like this all the time.
Oh, I'm telling you. I mean, that's enough to like grow you up real quick in politics.
And it, you know, John Wascom was the chairman then.
Yeah.
And it really kind of halted things.
Yeah.
You know, like we can't, you know, we were all out. We had, I think, John flooded, Frog flooded, Tracy flooded, Bubba Harris flooded.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's 4 of the 9, and I might be missing one that might, another one. I don't think Jeff Averett flooded, but I know 4 for sure.
Yeah.
That were flooded. Leighton Rick's house flooded.
Yeah.
You know, so they were having to help get the parish back together and still deal with their issues as well.
Yes.
You know, and I was extremely lucky, but man, I think I lived in a boat for 3 days getting people out of their homes. And I mean, I was over here off of Jubin, back up in that area, just getting people out, you know, and I mean, it was devastating. But the following year, Tracy was the chairman, and the whole year was just about recovery.
Yeah.
It was nothing but recovery.
Yeah.
So the third year I take over as chairman, and it's like, okay, 2 years of business, here it comes. You know, we fixing to hit you hard because we haven't been able to do nothing for 2 years.
Right.
And it was just like, wow.
Well, you know, they had a good man for the job, and that's
we had some tricky topics then, and you know, luckily the people handled it with class, and nobody was escorted out. I mean, they said that what they needed to say, and we got through it. And
Yeah, it's a lot, and I had Mayor Landry in here, and he shortly. I mean, he wasn't the mayor, but I don't know, maybe a year if he's lucky.
Because him and John were running against each other the year before we ran.
Yeah,
because when John actually stayed campaigning for 2 straight years.
Yes,
he didn't even have a break.
Yes,
and I was like, wow.
Yeah, and loses his whole town 90%.
Yep, and
I'm like. It took in my opinion, a special person to have that job and make it through that. And really, I think that the city of Denham Springs has come a long way.
Yes.
And in a short amount of time. And I credit the mayor for a lot of that and his staff. And of course, the people around him and the people in general, Livingston Parish people, man.
Yeah. Man, they something. I love representing this parish.
Yes.
I mean, my like I said before, the thing that gets me the most is when I can't help.
Yes, I believe that 100%. Thank you for the work you're doing. Yeah. Your service to the community over all these years is something that you can't replace. And you're a knowledgeable guy. You've done so much in the past with the council, and we hope to see more out of you in the future.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here for a while.
Very good. Glad to hear that. Thank you for coming on. Anytime you want to come on and talk about anything going on, man, I'm here for you. Just call and we'll get it fixed up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I thank all of the listeners out there of Local Leaders, the podcast, for listening. Please share, comment, subscribe, do all of those things that we love for you guys to do. We are very blessed to tell the story of business owners and public officials all the time here on this show. So thank you very much for that. Once again, I am Jim Chapman, reminding you, love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thank you very much.